We now determine the odds in favor of event E, given that probability of event E is 0.37. So we write the odds in favor of event E. This basically is the ratio of favorable outcomes is to unfavorable outcomes. So we have to determine the number of favorable outcomes and the number of unfavorable outcomes. Let's see how to determine that using the probability of the event E. So let's consider this probability of event E. And this is given as 0.37. And according to the formula, the probability of event E is favorable outcomes to event E. And this is divided by the total outcomes. And so this equals 0.37. And to determine the favorable outcomes and the unfavorable outcomes, we should first convert this decimal to fraction, and we can do so by multiplying and dividing by 100 because we have two numbers after the decimal point. So let's multiply and divide by 100. This is 0.37 by 1. So 0.37 times 100 is 37, and 1 times 100 is 100. So now we have converted this to 0.37 to a fraction, which is 37 over 100. And this means on the left side we have favorable outcomes. So this is divided by total outcomes. So we can now equate these two as well as equate these two in the denominator. So here we understand that favorable outcomes equals 37. This equals 37, and total outcomes, this equals 100. So we have obtained the favorable outcomes to determine the odds in favor of event E. However, we need the unfavorable outcomes. For this, we write the formula for total outcomes. This is basically the sum of favorable outcomes plus unfavorable outcomes. And so this equals 100. Now let's replace favorable outcomes by 37 and determine the unfavorable outcomes. So here I put 37 plus unfavorable outcomes. Let me write this shortly, unfavorable outcomes, and this equals 100. So we can determine this unfavorable outcomes, and this equals by subtracting 37 from both sides. So we have unfavorable outcomes equals 100 minus 37, and this equals 63. So we have determined the unfavorable outcomes equals 63 and favorable outcomes equals 37. Therefore, according to the odds in favor of event E formula, we can now write odds in favor of event E. This equals favorable outcomes to unfavorable outcomes. The favorable outcomes is 37. This is a ratio to 63 is the unfavorable outcomes. Or otherwise, we can write down this as 37 to 63. Thus, we have determined the odds in favor to event E. So choose choice B as the answer and include these two numbers, that is 37 to 63.